In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys how to prepare to get the best photos on your next wildlife photography expedition. Now, planning and preparation are things that I think a lot of people tend to forget about and kind of skip over when it comes to shooting wildlife. And these are things that I find actually very, very helpful and very, very important for wildlife photography, and really helps to ensure that you can find the wildlife that you're looking for and that you can find it in a situation that is very easily photographable. And like I said, a lot of people tend to just say, okay, well, I'm going to Yellowstone maybe, and there are bears and bison in Yellowstone, so I'm going to plan on shooting bears and bison. And that's all the thought that they put into preparing for a shoot. And I think that's really just a bad idea, and you're really missing a great opportunity if you do that, because there are so many resources out there that we have at our disposal, to go so much more in depth than that, to really plan and prepare and really know which shots we're going for, and where we can get those shots, and where we should be setting before the sun starts to set, and where the wildlife might come out at, and all these different things that you can go ahead and know ahead of time by planning and preparing, that a lot of people don't do. They just say, okay, I'm going to shoot bears, then I'm going to a location with bears, and that's all the planning they put into it. But I find that with a lot more specific and detailed planning, you can be a lot more effective as a wildlife photographer and come away with many more shots than you would have if you hadn't put any planning into it. And so that's going to be the topic of today's video. And the very first things that I want to go ahead and get out of the way that are always important to do is, first of all, charge your batteries. Charge your camera batteries before you go out. If you're shooting wildlife, you're probably in some remote location where there's not a lot of, access to chargers and different things like that. So have at least 2 batteries fully charged for your camera, I would say. Now, depends on the expedition. If you're only going out for a day, maybe you only need 1 battery, but I like to always have 2 on me at least. Empty all of your SD cards, because again, you're in a location that you might not have power, might not even be able to get your laptop on, and all these different things. And offload those cards, and you also don't want to get in a situation where you're shooting an animal and you run out of space on that card. So offload all SD cards and have those ready to go. Have your camera batteries charged. Have all of your gear cleaned and prepared, and whatever filters or lenses or anything that you may be using, have that on. I would even say go as far as to have your camera out of your camera bag and in the seat next to you, because you never know as you're coming to a location when, you might come up on an animal. If there's a location that they're commonly elk at, well, you might not only just see elk at that one location. They might be down the road 5 minutes from that location, because these animals aren't restricted to one spot. So you never know when you may come up on an opportunity. So it's always important, I think, to have your camera out and ready out of your bag as you come up on that location. So those are the very base level things that everyone should know, and I just wanted to mention and get out of the way, are essential for planning and preparing for a wildlife shoot. So now that we have those baseline things out of the way, I want to get into some of the more detailed stuff that you can do. And so for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the example of black bear photography in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. For those of you that don't know, I'm actually going to the Smokies this weekend to photograph black bears. So this is a great example to use here, because I need to be doing research for this anyways. So what I would go ahead and do is, first and foremost, find out the habits of these animals. What time of day can I expect to see black bears? What do they eat? Should I be looking for blackberry patches, or should I maybe be more looking in open meadows? Is that where you're going to see them? And also where they would be this time of year. What the bears might be eating this time of year. All those different things can be researched in advance. And basically what you can do is know your subject and know the behavior and ecology of your subject. So for example, for black bears, we'll search in black bear Great Smoky Mountains and just do something as simple as that. And I would bet that our top thing here is going to be, and yes it is, a national park page on black bears from the NPS. So right here, NPS, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and black bears. A little bit of black bear safety, and that's always a very important thing to know too. Something that I wasn't even considering in this video, but may be very important for other people out there, because if you haven't been in bear country, you need to understand bear safety. So this is always an important thing that you might want to look over as well. So you've got all that up there, and that's mainly what all this is. But then you scroll down and you can see some more detailed stuff about bears specifically in the Smokies. And that's why I really like to use these national park pages, because if you type in the species and then the actual national park, a lot of times you'll get info on that species specifically at that park, as opposed to just general ecology, which is good to understand too. But at that park, you can get a lot more detail. So for example, here you can see Bears inhabit all elevations in the park. So there you go. You already know there is no specific elevation that you need to go to. Bears, like humans, are omnivores. Plant materials such as berries and nuts make up approximately 85% of the diet. So there you already know, again, berries and nuts. You know, you might want to look in blackberry patches, under, you know, forests with trees where there might be walnuts or acorns, different things like that. Bears have color vision, keen sense of smell. In addition, they're good tree climbers and can swim very well. So good tree climbers, there you already know. You may want to look up in the trees in certain areas. Then right here, even scrolling right on down, bear behavior. Bears are most active during early morning and late evening hours in spring and summer. So that is a perfect example of really specific good information that I needed right there. I'm going in spring, and so right here, spring and summer, and then they're most active during early morning and late evening. So now I know that my best chances for bear photography and for seeing these bears is going to be in early morning and late evening, which this is all stuff that I personally already knew because I've, you know, been around bears a lot and different things, but this is all stuff that some people that may not understand that need to know and research. And for other subjects that I'm not familiar with, obviously I would need to research. Mating season usually takes place in July, so there you go. I know I'm going in April, so no worries about mating season or anything like that. I'll be more focused on probably females with cubs. Speaking of cubs, you can see a little bit more detail right here. Females with newly born cubs usually emerge from their winter dens in late March or early April. So again, another great detail right there that I can note on. All these are obviously really, really great details. So now what we'll do is we'll back out of this page, and you can see right here, if I go ahead and scroll down, just looking at some of the other resources, the next thing that I really wanted to know was, where can I see these bears? I have an idea a little bit of their behavior now, what they eat, what time of day, but where in the park specifically can I see these bears? And you can see right here, it says best place to see bears, Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So obviously click on this link. And this is obviously another great thing to do. You know, once you understand the behavior and ecology of your animals, try to understand where specifically within the location that you're going at, you're most likely to see these animals, because in a lot of these national parks, you know, these are hundreds of thousands of acres. So, you know, you could see one anywhere, but there are going to be select spots that are going to be the very best spots to see these animals. And I think that's really important to understand too. So getting into this, you can go ahead and see right here, according to numerous sources, the best places to see black bears are in Cades Cove, a few miles from Gatlinburg, and Townsend, Tennessee. So right there, now I know Cades Cove is going to be my best spot to see black bears. Right here is even a video. Mama black bear with her 4 cubs crossing the road in Cades Cove, April 2017. So again, this is a perfect resource. I'm going to be there in April, and this was taken in April in Cades Cove. So I can get this video is a perfect resource, perfect example of what I can expect to see in Cades Cove in Great Smoky Mountains at the time of year that I'll be going as far as mother and cub bears in the Smokies. More details on ecology in here. You can see black bears love Cades Cove for its ecosystem and abundance and variety of food sources. Wild berries grow throughout the valley and are easily harvested by bears. Even more down here, thrive in remote high wooded areas. Cades Cove fits the bill in every way. Semi-isolated climate, food sources, density of oak and hickory forest. So now we're getting into the very, very fine details. These specific details in specific locations of where you can expect to find these bears are details that we really need, and those are really the things that I'm looking for when studying how to find these animals. And I'm beginning to get an idea of where I can find these bears. So the next step that I would go into, now that I understand a little bit of the behavior and what these bears are going to eat, where I can find them, is looking at a little bit more specific here. So I'm going to go into Google Earth now. We're actually going to go right into Cades Cove and just drop in with the street view, kind of get an idea of what the layout of Cades Cove looks like. So zooming in here, you can see that if you go into this and you have street view, now I've got this full view all the way around the road here in Cades Cove. I can drop my little guy in anywhere that you would like, and you know, kind of just get an idea of what this looks like. Now, I've been here before. I've been to Cades Cove, so this isn't really something that I need to do, but if you're going to a new location, this is something that's good to do. You know, even details as small as knowing where a parking lot is can be very, very crucial. If it's very crowded and there's a lot of traffic and you happen to see a bear right over up in here, you know there's a parking spot right here. You know where there's a parking lot where you can pull over, get out, and photograph that bear. So just even the littlest details like this can make a huge difference in the success that you have with taking photos. And I often find also that some of these little user-placed 3D views can be good for getting an idea of what it may look like. So all these different things give you an idea of what you're looking at here, what you're going to be photographing, what the locations look like. And, you know, I always like to do stuff like this. Use Google Earth, Google, and find out the behavior, ecology of the animal, all of that, and get the very specific details on what I'm going to be looking for, basically, as simple as that. And then if you even want to go another layer beyond Google and Google Earth and these resources, you can even go into apps like Instagram and use hashtags to kind of, you know, get an idea of what the location may be like. If I went in and, you know, went to hashtag Cades Cove right now on Instagram, I can scroll through there and probably get a little bit more information on what exactly I can expect from the bears in Cades Cove. Also, in many locations, you have select bears or select animals, individuals, that are very famous or are commonly seen. Like in the Tetons, you have Grizzly 399, Grizzly 610, Blondie, Felicia, some of these very well-known bears in that area that frequent certain areas. And so you can go into detail of how to find that specific animal and increase your odds even more, because that's, you know, a specific individual. That's not just saying, okay, you know, in Cades Cove, you can see bears. This would be like saying, in this specific area of Cades Cove, you can almost always see this specific bear. So you're getting even more, you know, into the nitty-gritty details, the small details, to basically ensure the best chances of seeing these animals. And, you know, if you can find out that individual information about a specific bear and exactly where that specific bear frequents, then you can go exactly to that location at the time that it says, and there's probably a pretty good chance you're going to see that bear. So the more specific you get, the more detail that you get into, then the better off you're going to be in terms of really honing in on and finding that wildlife and being able to create good images of them. So beyond that, once you have all your research done, then you can begin to plan out and prepare and storyboard and pre-visualize your shots. And this is where I find that wildlife photography really changes from being just a way to document things to being a work of art. Now, obviously, you know, you can go in at any time with no planning and make an artwork photo. Like, I'm not saying you can't. But when you start to storyboard and plan these photos and envision and pre-visualize exactly where you want that bear in a landscape or, you know, in a photo, then you start to get a little more into the art of photography. So, for example, if I take my guy right here again and go back to Street View, and let's see Valley View. I'd like to drop down here and maybe see what this looks like. Here's Valley View, and let's just say that there was, you know, this is a total example. I'm just totally making this up. There's a blackberry patch right in here, in this area here. So what I could then do is pre-visualize what I want to see here. So I could come in here, park way early, set up, and have pre-visualized a shot of a black bear standing up on its two hind legs in this blackberry patch right here, with the backdrop of the mountains with a nice cloud formations and a sunset behind it. I could pre-visualize, maybe even sketch out that shot and storyboard it and really get an idea of what I'm going for and what I'm trying to shoot at Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and what photos I want to create of that animal. And, you know, you can do that at any, you know, location along the way. That's just one example there. I could drop in anywhere where I think that I might see a bear, where it looks like good bear habitat on here, and pre-visualize shots. And this is where you're really beginning to create artwork before you're even on location. Now, at that point, obviously, you're getting into a lot of depth. A lot of people don't like to go that in depth. They'd rather, you know, do a little bit of baseline research like I did at the start, and then they like to just go in off of that. But if you do want to go into even more detail and really ensure that you're coming away with the very best and most artistic and compelling images, you can go into even more depth and pre-visualize and storyboard and plan out the shots that you want to get, and wait for the animal to place itself in that location. And based off the research that you've done, you can figure out which locations are actually likely that you will ever see the animal in that location. So yeah, this was just a quick example of what I do to plan and prepare. As long as there is information out there on the internet about it, you can use the same methodology on any species. So yeah, that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope it made you think a little bit more about you know, planning and preparing for wildlife photo shoots and what you should put into that. And I hope that this helps you plan and prepare your next wildlife photo shoot and come away with even better photos than your previous shoot. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have stuck around to this point, if you haven't already, please do not forget to like and comment down below and let me know what you all thought. And most importantly, as always, please do not forget to subscribe to be entered for the 1,000 subscriber Manatee Swim giveaway video when that comes around. And with that, guys, I will see you in the next video. Late March